Okay, so this video I'm just going to very quickly show you how to make the columns. So what you'll notice in this case, I'm making equal sized columns, and in this case I'm making 3 columns. Now I know and you know that 3 into 100% would be 33 1/3%, and the example on the web page is 33 1/3%, and that works perfectly. But I always find that when I make a web page, what actually happens is if I make it full size, the columns will never all fit together. The reason why they're stacked up over here in this way is because the page is made smaller than its full size. So let me come over to the styling. Here we have, this is the only bit we need to make the columns. And so this tells it to go to the left and to fill 1/3 of the space it's in, the width. What we have after it, this row after, clears all the columns so that they you don't have one massive long column and the others not keeping up with it. And then this part just makes sure that the width is 100%. I've not used this before, but this is in the example. So the key parts are the columns, and then what you'll notice here is that when we come down to call this code, so the above was the styling, here is the code so that it shows on the page. Notice it says column and then a little bit fake Latin. I could change these to say column 1, column 2, column 3, so you really get to see what's what. There we go. Then within it, those are, within a row. So it's one row with 3 columns in it. And then what you'll notice is when it's full size page, the 3 columns run next to each other. If we didn't have the final little part, shrink that now. If we didn't have this part, they would get narrower and narrower and narrower. Because we've got that, what happens is that if we make the page a lot smaller, let me just show there, then it will, instead of making unreadably small columns, it just stacks them by page. And if I shrink that even more, it will work out how to treat those to make them the most readable. So notice again, here is the styling inside the style section, which is inside the head. And then here is us calling that section. It's defining or using a row, and then within that we're using 3 column spaces. Notice also that this uses the H2 tag, and it also uses the P tag, just like we did at the start in the first video. So notice, because they're 30%, just under 1/3, then I can fit 3 in when the screen is full size. If I wanted a 2 column one, what I would do is I'd come up to the column width, and again it should work at 50%. Perhaps it will, but in my experience, oh sorry, of course I've got 3 there, that's never going to work. So I'll have to get rid of one of my columns because I'll only fit 2 in if they're half size each. Save that. But in my experience, it just doesn't fit in. It should, it does in the example they use. So I'm just going to make this a little bit more, less than 50. I'm going to make it 47%. So 2 columns that are 47% become just under 100%. So that's the way I make it work. Okay, so that's how you make columns. I won't show you how to make uneven columns, except to say that that page I keep referencing, has a whole section on different columns. Here is where I got the example, the sample code. See, it builds up the page. Here's where I found the styling for the columns inside the style section, and they have much longer text. Here's the start of the row, start of the column, end of the column, start of column, end of column, start of column, end of row. But they also have how to make unequal columns, which is simply just making two different name columns. They've got an example here where they have one in the middle, two on the side. So that's how you can make different size columns.